It feels like the playoff hopes are over with the disappointing loss versus Denver behind another offensive letdown after losing CJ Stroud to a concussion.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Battle Red Nation, from H-Town to your town, today's episode and every episode of the Locked On Texans podcast is for Texan fans all around, from H-Town to North Carolina, all the way to California, even up to Denver. Today's show is for you guys. Not a victory Monday. It is a disappointing loss Monday, but we'll dive into my thoughts on today's show. I'm your Texas Credential Media member, football analyst John Hickman. To my everydayers from the Himalayas, thank you for making Locked On Texans your first listen of the day. Disappointing loss from the Houston Texans Sunday versus the Denver Broncos. Another wasted performance by the offense from the defense. I mean, the defense played amazing, but we got a few things we need to look at. Does this loss end the playoff chances for the Houston Texans? Maybe premature to talk about, but we're going to dive into it on today's show. Also, the defensive letdown we all saw coming. Felt like the ending of the game was inevitable. And the offensive letdown we all saw coming is where we're going to kick off today's episode. But today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your first bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. First and foremost, let me say this, and we talked about it a little bit on the Squad Show. The outcome of the game is different if two things happen. Number one, if CJ Stroud stays in the game, right? We look at how the offense operated. CJ Stroud, 3 of 7 on third down with 2 3rd-and-8 conversions. Davis Mills, who subbed in for CJ Stroud after he went down with the concussion, speedy recovery, 1 of 11 on third down. So that's number one. Actually, that's number two. Number one, Houston lost his game by a field goal. They had a missed field goal by Kami Fairbairn to kick it off. So we look at the difference in the game there. But Houston going 0 of 3 in the red zone. And it's how they went 0 of 3 in the red zone. Texans were inside the 2-yard line twice and could not punch in a touchdown. Settled for 2 field goals. So already, if you look at the Houston Texans on those 2 drives inside the 2, where you settle for 3 and also the missed field goal, you're looking at an 11-point swing. Also, of those drives, one of those drives, the red zone play calling looked like the following: a run up the middle, 0. Run up the middle, 0. Run up the middle, 0. Run for a negative yard, a holding penalty. When Houston gets into the red zone, all sense goes out they doggone head, and you can't make none out of it. That is a major issue for this Houston Texan team. Largely a big reason why I believe the playoff hopes and dreams are shot. I said it on the Friday show. If Houston does not win against the Denver Broncos, I am counting them out. They could pull it off. I'd be wrong. I'd be happy to be wrong. But I don't see it happening. Today was a moment to get it done. Even with CJ Stroud leaving the game, and I'll talk about the contrast with Davis Mills in Houston, inside the 2-yard line twice. And when I look at the play calling there, CJ Stroud did not have an opportunity to be CJ Stroud. There would have been an absolute difference of a game if CJ Stroud would have played the entire game. No doubt about it. I wanted to highlight specifically 3 of 7 on third down, 2 3rd-and-8 conversions, pressure in his face, Dr. Christian Kirk, Muda Chains. We're looking at a totally different game if he gets 4 quarters of action, right? Let's get that out the way. But why was there an offensive letdown? I understand things change when you lose your starting quarterback. The first half of the game, I thought Houston played as well as they could without C.J. Stroud, considering the circumstances, minus the red zone issues, which in hindsight, again, cost him the game. Now, granted, that was the issue for Houston last week, but they were able to, eventually score points largely due to C.J. Stroud's play. After the concussion, there was no C.J. Stroud magic to get over the hump to save this Houston Texans offense. I don't put up the blame on the shoulders of Davis Mills and Nick Caley during the first half. But when we get to the second half of this game, this is where I thought the inexperience of play calling from Nick Caley showed, and the lacklusterness from Davis Mills really stood out, and that's not a good thing. Davis Mills' average yard per attempt, 4.6. The play calling with Mills was don't turn the ball over. And typically, you may want to play like that with your backup quarterback, maybe for a drive, maybe for a quarter, right? But for the entirety of the game, the play calling was lackluster, just as the quarterback play was. And because of that, Houston never positioned themselves to score a touchdown. They played for the 3 once C.J. Stroud went down. First half, I'm okay with that. Second half, there were no adjustments. Granted, when this offense looks good, what are they doing well? They're running the ball well. Denver's defensive front didn't allow that to happen. Okay, cool. But here's where the biggest issue comes in at. There were no efforts coming out of the half to get the playmakers involved into the game. 1 target combined for the rookie Cyclones. The rookie Cyclones in the last 2 games for Houston have either scored touchdowns or combined for nearly 150 receiving yards. If I'm looking at Jaden Higgins and if I'm looking at Jalen Noel. And again, one of the bigger issues that I have with today's performance, you get inside the 5-yard line a couple times and you neutralize C.J. Stroud by not allowing him to be a factor as a quarterback. Not once did we see C.J. Stroud have an opportunity to continue the rhythm that he had started each drive with to finish it off. That's just a limitation that this team, that this offense cannot afford. And they let the defense down. They let themselves down. They let the fans down. And I think eventually they're going to let this franchise down because this was the game to win to keep the playoff hopes alive. And with C.J. Stroud now going into concussion protocol, the question around the city of Houston, how long will C.J. Stroud be out? Because if he's out for the next following games, remember, guys, Houston already had their bye week. They're going to find themselves in trouble that they're not going to be able to dig themselves out of. Offensive letdown Sunday, and what I thought was a great game. Some of y'all may not like defensive battles. I love them, but the defensive letdown we all saw coming due to the fact of they did everything that they could, but it was not enough to win the game. There were some things defensively that I thought the Houston Texans could have done better. So when we come back after the break, more Texans talk on today's pod.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends over there at Peloton. Look, folks, it's time to break through the busiest time of the year with a brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus that's powered by Peloton IQ. It's Peloton's most elevated technology and equipment yet that gives you real-time guidance, and it gives you endless ways to move, whether you want to work out by yourself or if you want to work out with your favorite instructor, like my personal favorite, Alex Toussaint. He always gets me fired up to tackle the day. And the thing I like about Peloton, it helps me achieve more in less times. They have features that help you plan, stay motivated, track your progress, and Peloton IQ also provides personalized workout plans and recommendations. That's something that I use right now during the busiest time of the year covering the NFL. They plan my workouts for me based on my mood, my vibe, and also my favorite instructors. So make sure you check it out and use it because it also helps you correct your form in real time and it maximizes your reps. It counts your reps so that you can do it smarter, safer, and more efficient. Let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Also, Texan fans, great opportunity here to let you guys know about Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. With over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their leading industry customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts fast for a project? Supply House has next day delivery. Talk about a game changer. Their trade master perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make the whole process smoother. Join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Just visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHNFL5 for $5 off, 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com, promo code SHNFL5 for 5% off your first order. Real people, real service. Texan fans, when we talk about how great of a defensive day it was for Houston, though they had miscues, let's point out Bo Nix's numbers: 18 of 37, 173 yards, 4.7 yards per throw, a QBR of 53.4, a quarterback rating of 68.9. Now, granted, if we take away the yards from Bo Nix, largely we take away that 25-yard run at the end of the game, the Houston Texans, 22 carries, 75 yards on the ground for the day. Now, we can't take away yards, but on the day, 23 carries, 100 yards was the number for the Houston Texans defense. And I'm going to tell y'all this, man. You look at what the Denver Broncos are able to do on the ground, they average 133, nearly 134 on the ground this year. They average 4.9 yards per carry. Houston was able to limit Bo Nix. For the most part, he had two good throws that led to touchdowns and a two-point conversion. But they limited J.K. Dobbins. They limited the running game. They limited Cortland Sutton. One catch, 30 yards, did result in a touchdown. But he was not a real takeover factor today for the Denver Broncos. As a matter of fact, R.J. Harvey, 5 catches, 51 yards in his TD. And Henry T, man, you know I cap for you every chance I get. But that was just a boneheaded play. That was just it felt like the assignment was unsure of you, and you were unsure of the assignment, brother. You completely stopped your feet while you have a man running towards you at a full steam on a wheel route, I think it was, and you stop. That's one of the miscues for the Houston Texans defense. But the number that I want to point out the most, and I talk about how good of a job that the Houston Texans defense had on Sunday, the Denver Broncos averaged 116 yak yards per game against the Houston Texans, 84. So you look at the Houston Texans just having a good day in terms of stopping guys where they are, not allowing a lot of short passes turn into longer gains. And then also just the job overall that Kamari Lassiter had for Houston. Now, when I talk about the defensive letdown we all saw coming, it goes back to the offense. Defensively, this is what When we get to the third quarter, this is what the drives for Denver looks like. Punt, 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 touchdown. And on that touchdown drive, they converted 3rd and 7, 3rd and 1, and then the touchdown. So you want Houston to be better in those third down situations where on the day they held Denver to 6 of 15. So somewhat of a decent day for Denver. After the touchdown, punt, 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 field goal to win the game. Now, in between, the Houston Texans, they are also punting the ball. 5 plays, 4 plays, 3 plays, 3 plays. 1 minute 45 seconds, 2 minutes and 34 seconds, 1 minute 24 seconds, 24 seconds. I don't know what to say. What I can say, you guys heard it against LA, you've heard it against Tampa, you heard it against Jacksonville, you heard it against Seattle. You've heard what I'm about to say in every 5 loss. There has not been a loss where, and if there was a loss, what I'm about to say, it would be today. But there has not been a loss where I could just come on this show and say, man, everybody was just making plays and Houston was not able to make that one play for both sides of the ball. There hasn't been a loss where it feels like the loss came because of a shootout and the offense held their own. There has not been a loss. Both teams' quarterbacks were very unimpressive Sunday, largely because Davis Mills went 17 of 30, 4.6 yards per throw. And what I want us to get to is there would have absolutely been a major difference in the outcome, again, if C.J. Stroud would have played. C.J. was 7.9 yards per throw. On his completion percentage, was a lot better for Houston in terms of out of his, he had 79 yards, 6 completions, 13 yards per throws. CJ looked to be locked in. And we talk about the difference in the game in terms of scoring points with or without CJ Stroud. Then I go back to the point that I made, getting down to the red zone, especially you look at the play he made using his legs to get down to the red zone, and then the referees throw the defensive holding, so that bumps him to the 2-yard line. We didn't see C.J. Stroud with the ball in his hands after that. The defensive letdown we all saw coming was back to the offense. Help us out. Now, let's talk about the defense just a little bit and some of the things that hurt them. Derek Stingley is not himself. He's not himself. Allowed a touchdown again today. Caught flat-footed. Now, I'll say this. That was a Cortland Sutton touchdown. Not sure if there was an expectation for safety help over the top of that. And if there was, then we look at, okay, where was the communication errors and, how can they improve moving forward? Where he was strong, an underrated part of Derek Stingley's game has always been his ability to come up and make a tackle. Was not able to do that today, and because of it, allowed a 13-yard gain on the ground. He just does not look focused. He doesn't look locked in. He does not look like the all-pro cornerback from last year. On the flip side, on Friday's show, my Everyday has heard me say this. When I gave my keys to victory, I talked about, hey, Houston got to limit that yak. You don't want to be yacked up. And I called on Kamari. I thought Kamari was excellent today. There were some plays that I'm sure he probably could have made and been better at, but overall, the numbers for Houston, 84 yak yards. That's 30 less than the Denver Broncos average. When this Texan defense plays elite teams, man, they rise to the occasion. Let's look at some of the things that they've done this year. In the 5 losses for the Houston Texans against LA, they only allow 14 points. That's 11 less points than the average for the Rams. Against Tampa, 4 less points. Against the Jaguars, 3 less points, also 3.6 yards per carry. The Jags average 4.7 yards on the year. Against Seattle, 4 interceptions. Against Denver, 4 less points, 34 less rushing yards, and also 30 less yak yards. The defense plays up to and beyond the level of their offensive competition more times than not this season. The offense don't help them out. The letdown, especially when we saw Davis Mills enter that game, the letdown was right. The writing was on the wall. The outcome was going to be the outcome. The outcome has been the outcome against LA, Tampa, Jacksonville, Seattle. So before Davis Mills even had a shot, the outcome has been the outcome. And with Davis Mills, the outcome was clearly going to happen. I feel bad for the defense. If there was a moment where the defense may feel like, hey, man, y'all got to do something. If there was a conversation in the group chat, the justification of it for sure against the Denver Broncos. And again, I don't know what the Houston Texans will do at the end of the season. Do they fire Nick Caley? Many of you want him fired. Do I think there's some good that can come out of Nick Caley being here in Houston? Absolutely. Do I know and I acknowledge the difficulty of giving C.J. Stroud a third offensive coordinator going into his 4th year? That's problematic. But he ain't doing himself no favors. Does this loss end the playoff chances for the Houston Texans? That's what we're going to talk about to close out today's show. Before getting to that conversation, Texas fans, NBA is back, baby. And honestly, and I love LeBron, but the NBA without LeBron has been fire. There's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. If you miss the start of a game, you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps everything exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, new customers over at FanDuel can get $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Shout out to the Houston Rockets, man. They're going to have to save us this year. Astros couldn't do it. Rockets going to have to do it. We look at the standings for the AFC right now. Indy, number 1, which is still a shocker. Who's even more of a shocker? Denver, number 2. And maybe a shocker for everybody, sitting at number 3. The top 3 teams in the AFC right now, 7-2, 7-2, 7-2. All surprises. New England, number 4. Pittsburgh, number 5. Buffalo, number 6. The Chargers, number 7 for that final wild card spot. The Kansas City Chiefs. With or without C.J. Stroud, moving forward, the Texans have to take on, because at number 8, their team, their division mate, a team that they're going to play next, the Jaguars, the Titans, the Bills, the Colts, the Chiefs, the Cardinals, the Raiders, the Chargers, the Colts. Colts playoff team right now. Chargers playoff team right now. Chiefs playoff team right now. Colts again, lead the division, lead the conference. Bills playoff team right now. Jaguars in the hunt and have better chances of making the playoffs than Houston. Houston will not make the playoffs. Houston will not make the playoffs. Climbing out of an 0-3 hole was difficult in itself. It's even harder to do so with a first-year play caller. It will be even more challenging to do so if CJ Stroud misses the next 2 weeks. And we saw that hit. Again, Godspeed, speedy recovery. But also take your time. Don't rush it. You got a long career ahead of you. But CJ Stroud looked to be out of it for a while. Now, he walked off on his own merit. I'm not confident he's going to play Sunday. I'm not. So that's already 1 week without CJ Stroud. I think this is where we need to start firing up those mock drafts. I think we need to get to a place where conversations about who is going to be the next so-and-so and such need to happen. And by the way, can y'all please stop the fire D'Amico talk? Today, what did you want him to do against that defense? Like, y'all know we're talking about Denver. Nearly 40 sacks on the year through 9 weeks. Y'all know we're talking about that team. All week, I game plan with my starting quarterback. My starting quarterback looked like he was going to have a day. I don't want to overlook 2 of the 3 third down conversions, 3rd and 8. D'Amico Ryans absolutely needs to be this team head coach moving forward, guys. But this loss ends the Texans' playoff chances, in my opinion. If Houston makes the playoffs, I'll come on this show. I'll sing praises. I'll be excited for the franchise that I cover. No doubt about it. This is not a negative conversation. I'm not being negative, excuse me. I am not being a Debbie Downer. I'm not being any of that. I'm being realistic as possible. I don't see them overcoming this loss. Throughout the week, I'll make sure that I cover this Houston Texan team to look at ways they could improve, be better, or flat out need to change. Please subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube wherever you listen to your podcast, and follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. Also, follow the Locked On Texan page at Locked On Texans. This was a year the Houston Texans, from top to bottom, are going to want to regret. And if the McNairs want to change anything about their franchise, it will be making a change at general manager and also scanning this roster as it's currently constructed and looking at pieces that they could move on from to help benefit the next general manager. Until next time, ladies and gents and Texan fans across the nation, peace.